I'm going to do an exercise today which might help you, because a lot of my students tell me that they have trouble color mixing. And I suppose one good way to practice it is to try and match colors. When you don't have the added difficulty of creating a painting while you're doing it. I suppose that's one of the things you're trying to take on too much at once. So if you just concentrate on the actual color mixing as just a pure exercise, it might do you a lot of good, I suppose, when the time comes when you do have to mix some colour that you're not familiar with. As usual, we'll do this on the basis of the usual colours, the McSherry process palette, which is those 6 tubes of paint. What have we got? Just to go over it again, it's titanium white, cadmium yellow pale hue, there we go, permanent rose, cobalt blue, ivory black, and the additional one of burnt sienna. So a colour palette that kind of mimics the printer's colours, the 4-colour process colours that trade printers use. Okay, so you can go back and see one of my former videos to learn about that. And let me see, I've already set them out on my palette. Here you go, all set out in the same way, the same side of the palette, the same places, and the same order. Okay, that'll help you paint too, to know where everything is when you go looking for it. And to match the colours that I'm going to match up would be, any of these kind of the brochures that you get with colour swatches in them from, I don't know, this one's Colour Trend, this one's Valspar. I've got, not to discriminate too much, I've got Crown, and I've got a bunch of other ones up in the house that we've collected over the years, Farrow and Ball and Little Green and all that kind of thing. All these paint companies, they will produce the swatches. So go and pick up a variety of colours in your local DIY shop, or local large multiple that sells paint. And let me see on this one, let me see, here we go. Let's have a look at this Valspar one. And you'll have a whole group of colours there together. None of them are particularly bright, but you've got to be able to match them. You've got some quite sort of pale and difficult ones in there as well. So I also picked up some larger swatches as well. So I've got a variety of colours here. So I'll do a couple of them here in this demonstration. You'll just see the way I do it, the way I might match it or might not. It's not absolutely vitally important that you get absolutely bang on correct colours, but you try. And let's have a look. Let's switch over to here. Okay, so let's try, for example, this one, which here is kind of a very russet sort of, I suppose it would be warm, dark orange. Now, obviously, the colours might be different on the screen than they would be in real life, but let's see how close I get. So obviously it's based on a red, so I'm going to mix up a red, a bit of red. I think it's warm, it's got a bit of yellow in it. There. And I think it's slightly dull. I think there's a slight touch of blue into it. I'll give myself a little bit of solvent just to loosen it up a little bit. And I think it's slightly greyish. I'm going to put a touch of white into it. See how I get. A little bit more yellow. A little bit more blue. It is a duller colour than a bright orange. So let's have a look, see how close I can get. Not too bad, a bit too red at the moment, so I'm going to add a little bit more blue into it and a little bit more yellow. Let's see how maybe I can pull that across here. Now obviously normally I'd put a wash on my canvas, I think a little bit more yellow. A touch more blue. Because you'd always be mixing up your colours incrementally anyway. You don't put great big wadges of colour when you're mixing. You mix them up bit by bit. Yeah, that's not too bad. Yeah, I think it gets better. It's too red over here, and it gets a bit duller and more yellow over to this side. So that's not a bad match, I don't think. So let me just wash out my brush. I have a rag here, and let's try another swatch. Get rid of that one. Let's try a blue. Okay, so let's try that blue there. And so for me, that's a kind of a what? It's a blue that's veering across towards green. So it's on the green side of the center of the blues on the color wheel. So let's get some blue, and it's also quite pale, so it's got some white in it, I think. So I'm going to put a bit of white into it, and a little bit of yellow. I think it's even got a slight touch of red in it, strangely enough. A bit more white. Bit more blue into it. More yellow. Let's see how that goes. Not too bad, a little bit more white, I think. That's not too bad. I think a bit more white again. Certainly when you look on the screen, it seems to be need a little bit more white into it. That's pretty close there, I think. Okay, let's try another one. Let's try this. Greens are always a bit difficult, so let's try a green. Let me find a green. There's that one. It's a very bright green. There's a very khaki kind of green. Let's see, and there's a kind of a cool green. All right, let's try the bright green first. Okay, we'll put that here. And so green, mixture of blue and yellow. Get some yellow first. Bit of blue into it. That's a bit too dark. Bit more blue. Bit more blue. And perhaps there's a touch of white in there, just a touch. Bit more yellow, bit more blue. I mean, you might not get the thing absolutely bang on anyway, because all color palettes have a, they fall short in certain ways. They all have different kind of ways of falling short, if you see what I mean. Mixing up incrementally, just a little bit at a time. That could do with more yellow. It's a hard one to get, that green. My green's looking a little bit as if it's got too much red in it, and I wonder, is there sort of stuff coming out of the brush to make it like that? It might be that it just the palette can't come up with something that bright. That looks a bit better. Yeah, it's a little. Bit more yellow. Yeah, that's the toughest so far. Yeah, difficult to get that one. Okay, so, well, that's just one of those things, isn't it? Let's try this green here, which is kind of a bluey green. Doesn't come across very well on the monitor, at least the one that I'm looking at. So let's try that. So blue, white, and a bit of yellow. It's quite turquoisey. You know, if there's a colour that you need and you can't quite get it, in a painting you would tend to just cope with the difficulty. Whereas if there was a colour that you absolutely needed, sometimes you have to invest in another tube of a colour that's closer to what you want. A little bit more white in that as well, I think. It's just kind of a turquoisey blue. Let's see how that goes. Put that on top of there. Let's see how we max it. Put more white in. That might be as close as I'm going to get. A bit more blue. See how that works. Yeah, greens are notoriously difficult to mix. That's as close as I'm going to get. Okay. So the greens are tougher than the reds and the blues. But in paintings, you're not sort of you don't absolutely have to go for dead accuracy anyway. So let's try this khaki kind of green. So I'm going to add red into the green, a bit more blue. See if I can sort of match that. Bit more blue, a bit more yellow. A bit more yellow again. A bit of white. It's quite a military colour. Let's see how that works. I'll put this across. Just take that one away. Put that one just there. So. Now, to my eye here, that's pretty close. Something about the reflection sort of doesn't help with the camera, but that's quite close. Maybe a touch more white and a touch more blue. Okay, there's another swatch. Swatch done, let's pick that up. And let's try one more. What should we do? Purples are always quite difficult with this. This is a kind of a violet colour. So we'll put that violet colour there. Let's see if we can make a match for that. It's a good exercise, this. So that will be red plus blue plus white. Red plus a little bit of blue plus white. See how the palette copes with that colour. So a little bit more white and a touch more blue. Let's see how that goes. That's too red, a bit more blue, a bit more white. Yeah, it's not a bad match. Possibly slightly on the red side. A little bit paler with some more white. See how that does it. That gets it a little bit closer with a bit more blue and white into it. There you go. There you are. And so what you do is you just fill up your blank canvas, sheet of textured paper in this case. It's a cheap way of doing it, and it works very well. And you try to match up as many colours as you can. And you'll get some practice in without the added pressure of having to create a painting while you're trying to figure out how the colours work together. So that's my exercise, and just go and enjoy yourself painting without having to do a composition. Okay, so I'll see you for the next exercise. Cheerio!